Hello all, welcome to my channel. Let's continue with the C Sharp interview series. So today we will be starting with LINQ, which is actually the most important topic that is needed for you to be a .NET developer. So what is LINQ? Language integrated query. So what does that mean? So let me tell you the flow. So generally data, this is what we play with. So this data will be saved in different kind of sources. It can be any databases or any XML files and so on. So here data will be saved in different data sources, and what we have to do is data will be fetched from this different sources using any kind of mapping, ORM mapping like LINQ. So data will be fetched using LINQ. Here in C Sharp it is LINQ, and after fetching data we will be just manipulating the data according to the requirement using a C Sharp technologies, and we will be manipulating the received data and we will just convert into our required format. So basically the common format would be JSON. So basically it depends on the requirement. So we will be fetching data from different data sources, and that data we will be manipulating and we will be converting it into our required format, and that data is sent to UI, and this data is sent to the UI, and the sent data is shown on the UI in a visually good colorful format. So this is the general flow of development, both backend and front end. So basically it is data only, we just play with data is fetched from the backend using LINQ, and the fetched data is manipulated in C Sharp, and we will be converting the manipulated data into our required format, and we will be sending that data to UI using APIs. So this is the general format. So now this is a general flow of development. So now we will be talking about LINQ. So what does that LINQ? As I said, the role of LINQ is to fetch the data from different data sources. So it will just give us the querying capability. So now language integrated query, it gives us a data querying capability in C Sharp. So you can use C Sharp to fetch the data from different data sources. Okay, so generally querying different data sources, every data source has its own querying language. If you see databases like SQL, Mongo has their own, they follow a querying capability called SQL, and we can use xquery for to query XML files. So this kind of different querying capabilities is there for different data sources. So LINQ provides us a common or unified approach to fetch the data from different kind of data source. So you can use only one common way to fetch data from different data sources, and that too using C Sharp syntax. So got it? LINQ is basically querying different data sources using C Sharp. So LINQ integrates querying capabilities directly into C Sharp. Traditionally, querying different data sources requires separate languages, but LINQ provides us a unified approach using familiar C Sharp syntax for querying diverse data sources. So I hope you are clear now. So sorry. So LINQ is nothing but it provides querying capability for fetching data sources using C Sharp, fetching different data sources. So this is what LINQ means. So generally in LINQ operations you will be finding three parts. So one is data source, and one is query creation, and one is query execution. So it's not that complicated. So let me show you one example. I'll be creating a list. Let me create a list of int. So here I have created list. So this is my data source. So I can tell, so data source can be of anything. It can be a data that is saved in database or XML file, or it can be in memory arrays or lists as well. In memory, any iterable as well. So first you have to define your database. So if it is an in-memory data source, it is fine, you can just declare it this way. But if you wanted to fetch data from any external data source like database, you have to make a connection to the database and fetch the data from database. So that we will be seeing in detail in our further classes, how to connect to the database and all. For now we will be looking into the in-memory data source. So first you have to make clear of your data source. So this is the collection of data you wanted to query. It should support the IEnumerable interface. So basically it's nothing, you can create your data source, and that data source should be an iterable, like you should be able to run a for each loop over that data source. So this is it. And you have to first make your data source clear, and you have to create the query. So let us create the query now. From this I wanted to, let me write a query equal to, so your our query looks like this. So it must start with a from clause, and this is the local variable, it can be of anything, and int, and you have to iterate over the data source. Here I am using data source as list, and then your select comes. So this is how it this is the query creation. So your LINQ syntax is like this, it must start with from and it must end with select. So select can select or group is also fine. So we will be looking in detail what does group does and what does this mean. So this is basically the syntax. So it is in formal English only, right? You can understand. From D1, in D1 is a normal variable, in normal local variable, and this is our data source, and from this data source you have to select this data. So this is query creation. So if you see the you define the query using C# syntax to specify what data to retrieve, how to transform data, and these are all the functionalities of this query. Like whenever you query, this is the normal question, right? What data you wanted to fetch from this, and what are all the operations that you wanted to perform. So this is it. Here we are not doing anything, here we are simply selecting this element directly, but there are many operations, like you can just give any filtering, like I wanted to fetch only data that is greater than 5. So this way I can add filtering and I can sort it. So now, so here let me just to understand sort. So then query execution. So query execution is nothing but you have to just iterate over a for each loop. So this is query execution. So let me iterate. So this is LINQ. So it is the common syntax of LINQ. So it must start with a from and it must end with any select or grouping, and in between you can add any of the optional clauses that you can add according to your requirement. So here I added where and order by. So this is how LINQ works. So that is query creation, and you can execute query using a for each loop. And there are more specific methods like count, max, and all. If you give this methods, no, there's no need to give a separate for each loop. It gets executed on the fly. And next, query expression and query variables. So this is called a query expression, and this is called a query variable. Nothing much in this. So a query expression is a first class language construct written in C# syntax similar to SQL or XQuery. So it consists of clauses that specify filtering. Filtering is nothing but we have added where. Here we are filtering, right? And ordering is order by, joining and transformations. This we will be seeing in detail. And a query expression must begin with a from clause, and it must end with a select or group clause, or else it will give us error. If you see here, see a query, if you see the error here, a query body must end with a select clause or a group clause. So this is the language construct that is given. So you can add optional clauses in between like where, order by, join, let and all, and these can be used within this query expression. So this is called our query expression, and this variable is called query variable. And then LINQ is of two types. So you can write this LINQ in two types. It is normal query syntax that we have seen earlier, which is almost similar to SQL, not exactly same, it is similar to SQL. And the other one is method syntax. Method syntax is nothing but, let me show you an example here. Here we remove. So how method syntax looks like is, it is nothing, it is a chain of methods that we call. So here what all we did, where clause we have given first. So where x implies x is greater than 5. So I wanted all the elements that is greater than 5, right? So I gave x greater than 5. So inside this it is a lambda expression. So lambda expression is nothing but it is just a one-liner function. So here this lambda expression syntax looks like this: input and this and the one line function that you wanted to write here. So this is a lambda expression, needs to be we write lambda expression inside this methods. And order by, so here we don't have sorry, so generally here, okay, if it is a clubbed type or if it is a object type, if it is a type of class, no, here we can give dot or something that we can see later. So this is how it works. As this is the introduction class, you might be not clear, but just try to understand the gist, just try to understand the core concept. So we will be seeing in detail later. So this is it. It has two approaches. One is query syntax, the other is method syntax. So query syntax, it uses keywords like from, where, select and order by for filtering, ordering and projection. Projection is nothing but just selecting. So often preferred for readability, this is fine. So generally this is preferred for readability because it is clear and readable. So it is good when if there are complex operations. So if you see here, there is one example. We defined a data source of numbers, and here we wanted to fetch numbers that is greater than 7. So the same kind of operation that we have done earlier. And method syntax is chains of methods like where method, select method and order by methods are used, and inside this method we require a lambda expression for conditions and transformation, and it is concise. So same result can be achieved using this method syntax. See, so this is the query syntax and this is the method syntax. and key points are both are semantically equal only, like it produces the same result. So, and then let's talk about the typing system in LINQ. So LINQ is strongly typed. So LINQ enforces type compatibility between data source, query variables, and iteration variables. So what does that mean? So here, instead of var, let me give the proper data type. So here our list is of type list integer, right? So here this integer, so here this data type must match with the C. LINQ enforces type compatibility between data source, query variables, and iteration variables. So the data source data type and the local variable and the iteration variable, these data types should be compatible. Okay. So it is strongly typed. It gives now it doesn't look complicated, but if data comes in runtime, no, here we have we created a list in memory, so we are very clear that this is a list of integer. But when we fetch data from an external source like databases or any other files, when data comes in runtime, no, this typing plays a picture. So there we might find discrepancies between the types. So queries without explicit versus implicit typing. So this we have already seen in our first class itself. Implicit typing is nothing but here you can use var. So var accepts any kind of data type, and at the runtime it binds with the actual data type. This is implicit typing, and explicit you have to give the correct data type, and that is explicit typing. So queries without transformation of source data is uh, here we are directly fetching the data. So here directly source data I'm fetching. Now I can give some transformation, like let me create an anonymous type with id equal to d1. So here I am transforming my original source data and I'm printing data like this. So this is what I meant by transformation. Data source type determines the range variable. So yeah, data queries with transformation is you can use any anonymous type to transform. So this is introduction to LINQ. So in our next classes we will be looking into the each operation that is performed in LINQ in detail, one by one, with examples. So please comment down if you like the video. Please like, share and subscribe, and if you have any doubts please comment down. And thanks for watching. Please stay with me. Please like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.